Hello, everyone. It is Kenyon here. It is Basketball Rewind, and we are back for another episode. Thank you for everyone who has recently joined, recently subscribed, recently commented, whether positive or negative. We appreciate you, I guess. So, before we start, I'm joined by Beyond the Locker Room, and Nelly J is back. I can obviously link the episode where Nelly has been around. Nelly is one of, royalty in terms of Raptors Twitter, Raptors Spaces, Raptors Voices, really. And so, I mean, without a further ado, Nelly J, I mean, she can speak for herself. She watches, she covers every game, even when others go on vacation. I would say that yeah, you know what I'm talking about, man. She watches, she suffers with us, and watches every single game, with goggles, without goggles, with leg, with baby, with whatever. We're through it. We watch every 82 games, and Nelly is there covering it every single time. Nelly, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are y'all doing?
All right, all right.
How y'all doing? I love the intro. Yeah, listen, I believe that we should suffer together, right? Like, I don't think this should be something where it's like, oh, yeah, we're going to watch it. But no, I do think that, there's times where we should be trying not only to like enjoy the great moments, but I think sometimes watching the bad, it makes us appreciate the good, right? And I think it's like we earn it. It's like, oh, we suffered for 40 days, 40 nights with this team. Let's just suffer together. And of course, as the team gets better, we're like, oh my gosh, da, da, da. So we all get excited for it. So no, I totally agree. I think it's something that we just have to watch and just, be okay with it.
The other thing too is, as you said, it makes you appreciate the good times more. But also, I think it's good to look at your team with a critical lens, not to be overly negative. I think people sometimes mistake the two, but to basically assess, like, I'm a fan, I want the best for my team. What does my team need? And if you're going to tune out, which I understand, I'm not trying to force people to watch something that they don't want to watch, but at the same time, it's like, if you're going to be critical or if you're going to comment on the game, you got to be watching that stuff. So I think that because there's definitely some people that it's like we've seen where all of a sudden they're commenting and then midway through they're like, well, sorry, I honestly haven't been watching. Like, what happened? And you're like, yeah, I've been suffering, my friend. So yeah, I think beyond that, Beyond, how are you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Just trying to keep cool. That's about it, man. But I'm looking forward to discussing some hoops with you guys today. I
No
think
doubt.
Nelly's been on while I've been on, so I'm looking forward to having this discussion with her. Usually it's been on her platform, so
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Universal.
So yeah, of course, anything related to Nelly, check the link in the description. We will talk about that later on. But without a further ado, we're just going to start talking about a few topics today. We're going to talk about, obviously, Raptors, Masai news. We're going to talk a little free agency, and then we're going to go jump right into WNBA related things. We have a whole bunch of topics to get through today. So let's start. Let's start with Masai, the man of the hour. Good morning, America. Of course, he left the Raptors. There was a parting of ways. We won't know truly how mutual it is, but I think we have a feeling that it was less mutual on one side than the other. Nelly, what were your first thoughts when you saw Masai leave in that fashion? And Keith Pelly, I mean, you almost feel bad for the rookie because I always said it's like the Chris Middleton kind of interview where it was him, I think it was Malika Andrews, was interviewing Giannis, and then all of a sudden Giannis just gets up in the middle of the interview. He's just like, "What's going on? I guess I'll take this." So yeah, I don't know what your first thoughts were in terms of Masai leaving or Masai's tenure, of course.
Yeah, you know what? I think I wasn't surprised. I think most of us were not. So I think that's the biggest thing. Like, we kind of suspected, especially when it comes to this ownership change, right? When this happened a year ago, for those who follow the Raptors and understood his last contractual negotiations, how that went down, we knew something was coming up. So essentially, the backing he had from ownership was now lost, right? So we knew that there'll be more an objective lens on him. Whereas before, because he wanted the championship, it was like, oh, whatever Masai does, we don't care. It's like, do what you want. But now that there's someone that wasn't there for that type of situation, they're going to have a more critical and objective lens on it. And for those of us, because again, I love Masai, right? I'm a big fan of his, but I did not agree on the stuff he did post 2020. So the championship, I felt there was critical things that he could have done, like Norman Powell trade. Hated it because I think Norman Powell was someone that we knew. We knew what he can do. So trading him for someone that was kind of young, coming up, didn't really show anything at the time, not the great decision to make when you are transitioning into a new era, right? Things like not trading, like Marcus Gasol, Serge Ibaka, that situation fell through. We tried five different centers that we tried out, but the fact that we can never land a good center and went back to Jakob Poeltl, like there's like I mean, yes, we got Koloko, but I feel like we've had this small ball issue since 2020. We're now 2025. So that tells me that something's missing. The fact that we're in the same situation of size being an issue 5 years later, clearly that's a problem. I'm seeing teams like Orlando, Atlanta, Utah, Dallas, all solving their size issue within 2 year time. 2 years. Toronto has not. So something was missing. And listen, sometimes a change of scenery is the best way to improve. But I think Masai got stagnant in terms of what he can do for Toronto. I feel like it's been a stagnancy for the last how many years. However, despite what my disagreement with Masai and what he did as a scout or with players, I did really appreciate his cultural influence on the city of Toronto. I think, from a person of color, Caribbean, African background, we don't really see a lot of people looking like us running sports teams, running a actual $2 billion business in Canada, right? That's not a common thing that we see. So I think it was a great culturally to have someone like that in charge. And he took that team that was probably a couple hundred millions value to 2 billion, right? And I think I will forever be thankful for his influence and his support in the community, his support in different programs. So I just think that he's someone that has done so much for the city. So I adore him. But in terms of his actual job, right, in terms of building this team, people forgot that Bobby Webster was the GM, but everyone kept telling me, no, it's Masai who's doing it. Well, then it's Bobby or Masai. So now we're going to see now with Masai leaving what Bobby does, right? Because now Bobby can't lead Masai for anything. This is going to be his decision. What I did not like was how MLSC made it seem like, oh, we're going to hire a new president. Okay, you fired the president of other teams, but you're going to hire one for Toronto Raptors still. So the question is, he was let go not because of his decision making, but because he probably was a lot more to pay for than someone else. But I do think, from my opinion, respect to Masai. Thank you for what you've done. And I really hope that wherever he goes, he's going to help that team get better and improve. I just think as a Raptor president, I think it was time. And I think he also knew it too. I think he seems very happy, very chill. Like, he's not devastated by this news. I think even he knows that, hey, like, we haven't really moved the needle. We had something going 2 years ago, but then we traded away OG, Pascal, who have been phenomenal in the playoffs. So should we have traded them away? Like, I'm sure they're questioning now all of the decisions the last 2-3 years, and they should, right? And they should, because now we would love to have an OG. We would love to have a Pascal on this team today with these guys. So I think it's kind of funny in hindsight, it's 2020, but I feel like very appreciative to have someone like that run the team. But however, we cannot ignore the mistakes he made, and that's okay, right? That's being critical thinker. Like, we're not saying he's a bad president, but we're saying, hey, you make questionable choices, right? That looking back wasn't the right decision to make. And so that's kind of where my sentiments are with Masai. Love him, appreciate him, adore him. However, I wasn't the happiest with what he did the last couple of years. So that's just me.
Yeah, before I go to Beyond, I'll just say a couple quick thoughts. One of the things, when they said that they were hiring or replacing his position and backfilling it with a proper agency and not just, whatever. My read on it wasn't fully just money. Obviously, yes, you were paying for one of the top probably the highest
25
paid GM,
million. Yep.
in the league, but also not getting a return on investment for that financial investment. However, the way that I look at it is, it's kind of a respect factor to the Raptors, because now it's like, oh, we just got a valuation done because there's just an ownership change. And this is the most important, most valuable, most money-making franchise in the lot.
Yes.
And so I people can say Ed Rogers don't like this. I can tell you what Ed Rogers probably likes is his pockets filled.
Money.
And so, for better or for worse, hey, I look at it this way. He probably believes, hey, I'm a hockey guy. I used to play. He used to say, oh, I used to know Shanahan and all this. Okay, cool. So he's cool with the hockey. He understands hockey. This is not my core competency. I'm going to hire someone in that place. Now, I think that from a public-facing standpoint, I think that they could have done a better job of outlining maybe that the way that I would outline it is, if you are a believer in Masai has had a great impact on this organization, but recently the Raptors have not performed up to his standard, which is a championship standard. That probably would have went over a little bit better than, hey, it's time for change. and then Bobby is just there, so that's where I'm at. We'll see how that ownership change goes. The other thing I think that's not talked about enough, you talked about Orlando as part of the brain trust that has been lost since the championship, right? Guys like Jeff Weltman, going to other teams. Guys like, some of the guys that left and had to be brought back, like Jama, of course, Stackhouse, a lot of the developmental guys. For a long time, people don't really always pay attention to the 905, but the 905 used to be a premier program when those guys like Siakam, OG, Fred, et cetera, were all coming up. And when you're not stocking up the cupboard, when you're not focusing on important positions like point guard play or center play for too long, that cupboard runs barren and dry. And so you're starting to see a change. I mean, at one point we had the coach of the 905 was a guy with zero basketball experience, fresh off his PhD in statistics, which is cool. But I don't want a guy with khakis who doesn't quite have the experience yet jumping into a coaching role and treating it like it's 2K. Beyond, I'll let you go from there. So I think that's a good jumping off point.
Yeah, I would just say, and I would actually, that last point you mentioned, the person that actually mentioned that point about a year, maybe 2 years ago, about how there's so little actual NBA DNA or NBA player DNA in our organization.
I believe it was Nelly.
That's right, person on this panel.
Yeah.
Right. And when on her space, I said, Nelly, you're absolutely right. We don't have NBA. You go look all around the different organizations, from coaches to scouts to executives. They got ex-players everywhere. And the one team that doesn't have any of them, no one. It's not like we're some new freshy team here like 5 years in. We don't have any legacy. We're just celebrating 30 years. We got guys all over the place in this league. You can find them in this case. They're playing their other teams. So I think that's something, whoever the new president is, that ties back. And who knows? It might be, I'll die laughing if it ends up being an ex-NBA player. That would be fascinating if the new president is that. Because I'll just say this, I don't think
Hakeem Olajuwon, like we have some vets that used to play here. I wonder if we go to someone that like is a Hall of Famer, like Isaiah Thomas. He helps Phoenix right now. He's like one of the advisors, right? So I wonder where they're gonna go. Mm-hmm.
Right, we started with Isaiah. Like we had guys in the thing. You mentioned Stackhouse just in. We used to have guys like that. I mean, but now it's like it's pretty empty. Using your phrase, the cupboard is bare on that front. Yeah. I do think that the president of basketball operations, whoever it is, will deal with the job of, let's put it this way. I don't think Bobby and his group are long for this situation. I'll just leave it at that.
I agree. I mean, I think a lot of people think that it's an automatic, but I mean, if your premier signing for free agency is Garrett Temple, that's probably not going to bode well, when clearly one of the reasons that the other guy was just let go is because they are not entirely happy with the results, and ergo the team as is. So if you go into next year with the team as is, I mean, by the time you get to the end of summer, you might be, really just given a set of instructions on what to do to clean up the mess before the next guy comes in and your time is out. So I mean I know a lot of people are attached to Bobby suddenly. I wouldn't be so attached. I also think that the relationship side of the business, this is a relationship driven business, an agent driven business, that kind of is lost on things. And I think sometimes you almost need to sit out once you've had certain fractured relationships throughout, whether it be because you're too cheap, too much, and even some of the decisions that were made. It's like Norman Powell, because we don't have the money, but we're going to give that exact same money to GTJ.
That's the thing, right? It's like this team, and like I get it, right? You know, a lot of fans just want to be positive, right? And I've been told that I can be negative, and I don't think I'm being negative. I'm just being realistic. Being a fan of this team since the inaugural season, I've seen so many changes. But one thing I will say, whenever I listen to Masai and Bobby talk the last 5 years, they've been talking in circles, right? Like they say, "Oh yes, we didn't do this," but then the next year they don't do it. They don't solve the problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like they're talking in circles and people just eat up the cycle. I'm like, guys, they've told us, Masai said, it's very hard to find good centers. I remember it's clear as day because he mentioned like it's so hard to find a good center and to get one in Toronto. Then Bobby says a few weeks ago, oh, getting a center is easy. I mean, there's so many we can get.
Yeah.
So like again, they are in a sense sometimes can be very hypocritical because one moment is hard, next moment is not hard, or we can easily pick one up. No, we cannot. There's only one Maluwak, right? And I think if you look at how many basketball players are over 7 foot, there isn't that many, right? And some teams like Phoenix, like Dallas, they have gotten so much. Like some teams have actually have geared up on big because they understand to win in this league, you have to have size. You have to have size. Like size matters in this league. Now you can win games and look cute and make it to the play-in, but look at teams like the Hawks. Look at teams like the Bulls, who always had like really good guards and good wings, but never good bigs. And they're all or in Miami, similar situation. Now Miami, they have been drafting bigs, Khalil, where they have guys now that have size now. But I feel like for some reason in Toronto, we think small ball is going to work with no Steph Curry. And I don't understand why we think that way, right? It's very I don't know if it's ignorant, but either our front offices, and again, people like, oh, Janelle, people are getting paid, this is their job. I know, that's why I'm shocked. If this is their job, no, honestly, if this is their job, right, you should know the history of basketball. If I'm working for the Raptors, I should know what a winning culture and team looks like, the pedigree, point guard play, rim protection. All those teams have certain pieces in mind that allow them to win a championship. When we won, we had rim protection, we had a stretch five, we had shot creators, multiple, and we had shooters.
That's
and we
actually
had point guard
something,
play.
right? Because like our, I was talking to Vion about this actually. I think last night, and we were basically saying that Raptors fans have seen it's a very unique fan base in the sense that we've seen literally everything on this team. We've seen a joke of a team. We've seen some of the most talented players in the world on this team. We've seen guys where it's like, is that the next Jordan? We've seen guys that came out later, and I don't like using the term, but if a guy says I was lazy, I could say we've seen some lazy players because they've said I was lazy. We've seen the full gambit. We've seen good teams, bad teams, well balanced teams, and so it's really interesting, to see how sentiment has almost shifted. And the funny thing is with certain people who have been there throughout all the eras, is like some of those people I'm a little bit shocked where they're like, well, it's like, Garrett Temple will just need to, be the right man to give effort. It's like,
hopeful. I was told literally last year, I was told that Jordan Nwora was going to be a guy.
I remember that. You remember what I said to that, right?
Jordan Nwora? People thought he was a guy. I'm like, where is he now? Like clearly our fan base are Delulu, right? Look like Delulu, like they have no clue what really good talent looks like. And I feel
Yeah.
bad because I'm like, guys, if you look at other teams, like Cam Whitmore, I actually said, yo, one guy that impressed me a couple years ago in summer league was Cam Whitmore, right? He
Yeah, yeah.
wasn't the best, but he impressed me. Cason Wallace, he impressed me in summer league because like it wasn't about how much points you score. It was about like your attentive to detail, your engagement in the game, defensibility, right? Explosiveness, playing with some type of like energy of like I want of competing. And Cam Whitmore stood out to me. And the fact that Cam Whitmore was only worth 2 second-round picks, are you kidding me, Raptors? We didn't have, we couldn't even offer that. Like, really. And again, why, respectfully, why even pick up or draft who we drafted this year when Cam Whitmore was worth 2 second-round picks? We could have gotten him and gotten Malawaka at the same time.
Wow.
That's
You know what I'm
something
saying?
that-
Like,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, again, like, so I'm not saying the front office folks, I mean, I have friends who work in the front office, so I love you guys. But the folks who are working in the scouting
Wait, in this front
department,
office?
yeah, I do. Yeah, I do have friends. Yeah,
I was
like
gonna
family
make a
friends.
joke about LinkedIn or
But
something.
but right, I know people there, so
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not like I have a lot of respect for them. They know that I love them off. But the folks who are making decisions on player like selection
Yeah.
and scouting, and also like what is the direction of this team? That's one thing I've never heard in my life. Like these guys talk in circles, right? What I would love Bobby to mention, and he said, yes, we want two-way players, we want size. You say it, but then draft something completely different. So again, my concern is no 6'7" power forward has ever been successful in the NBA unless it's Charles Barkley, and he ain't that.
Hey! Paul Millsap. I keep bringing
Okay,
up Paul
Paul Millsap.
Millsap.
Okay, cool. With two out of the how many almost 100 years of basketball, two have been successful.
Yeah.
Come on, guys.
Well,
Come on.
there's a third one if you actually stop eating in this case here. He's the other one.
Well, yeah,
Oh,
I
man.
mean, but again, like look at his career, right?
That's
So
what I'm saying.
again,
Yeah.
6'7" power forwards are not historically known to do well in the NBA.
No.
Just because someone plays well in college doesn't mean they're going to be good for the NBA. And guys who do this business know that. Guys understand like what a college star versus an NBA star, two different things.
So
Two
I'm
different
guessing,
things.
Nelly, you didn't like Bobby's comments about CMB playing small ball 5?
That's horrendous. Horrendous.
Okay, I
That's a
just wanted to
bad
double check.
decision. Again, he can do it if we're playing teams that have a small ball lineup on the floor, but a permanent position,
Yeah.
him being our backup center is not a good look.
Especially
because
in
it-
this rookie season where it's like where you're just dealing with size in general. It's not a good idea.
It's again like historically in basketball, 6'7" centers don't do well. Now, if Bobby thinks he can erase history of basketball and erase who won championships, cool. But I've watched enough basketball to know that 6'7" centers do not help you win championships
See,
as
this
a backup or not.
this is the point I wanted to bring forward because I think you hit on something here that I don't think enough people are actually touching on. First thing, I
What,
said
you think the white paper is going to get published now?
no, I'm gonna get that in a second. But no, this is where I'm getting to the point you two are discussing. First thing, I said when we drafted, I said, oh, so we drafted a better defensive Corliss Williamson. Yay. Okay, second thing is going to the point that Nelly's discussing here. I think the word is not ignorance. I think the word is arrogance, right? That is the word, right? They think they're smarter than everyone else, that they've unlocked the caramel secret, that they know how basketball should run. And Nelly's hit it twice in this case in different ways, but that's really what we're talking about. And this goes back to our initial discussion where they don't have basketball people in the building because all of them here got wizards. They got their Pythagorean theories up here and they're doing all their white
Got
paper.
stats.
And they got their pocket protectors. They say, hey, we've figured it out and we worked this out here in this Excel spreadsheet and stuff like that. It's like, no, dude. And you guys actually played a basketball before? Been on a blacktop? No, they don't have a clue about it because all they think they figured it out. And I think that last point Nelly mentioned, what Bobby's talking about, is like, yo, dudes, you guys are out the lunch of what's going on around here. And I think that's the part in this case here where it's like why I've said from a time, if it's up to me, I clean the whole house.
Yeah.
Because this is not some measure where we just kind of trim around the edges. It's just Masai. They all got to go. Sorry if anyone's there, if anyone you get to know in this case here, but at least from a management standpoint, that bunch in this case, they figured out certain special secrets, and it's not the case. That's just my points on. And one last thing, this ties into what we're going to discuss with the W just now. For folks, when I had the space of with the WNBA and the bid that got pulled on the rug, we had discussion at the time. I said this is a harbinger of potentially things to come, guys. At the time, so there's a certain individual that runs this company, or at least has a portion of the company at the time. He is making his power player what he likes and what he doesn't like. And we told folks in that space at the time when they pulled the rug on them, I said, guys, this is how things might be going down in a couple of years.
Yeah.
The WNBA was just almost like a canary in the coal mine.
Yeah. No, it's true. Like, and that's my thing, is that sometimes, like, I feel like a lot of guys who are working in a front office don't know the history of basketball. They know modern history, but they don't go back. Like, how many guys in our front offices that actually go back and watch dynasties? Like, how to make a dynasty? Like, are they studying how teams were built? Are they studying, like, because I feel like sometimes if I'm working in that industry, I gotta know what has worked and what I need. And I feel like many dynasties told us the blueprint of building a championship team, right? And Orlando, Dallas, from time I've felt OKC getting a Hartenstein, great pickup. Getting Caruso, ingenious. Wanna know why? Because they needed more length, right? An actual center, because Chet isn't a true 5. He's like a 4, right? But getting a Hartenstein type player, and you already have Jalen Williams, like, right, at the center, and like, they got what they required. Toronto, even the Knicks picked up players as awesome. Oh, wow, this is what they need, right? Hawks, oh, this is what they need. Every team is picking players that they require. Whereas the Raptors, we have a bunch of 6, 7, and shorter guys that are playing 5 through 1. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like, how are we so, like, every team is getting bigger in the NBA. Every team but Toronto. That to me is that our front office is so out of touch as to their competitors. Because guess what? In our division, we have Brooklyn, we have New York, we have Boston, we have the Knicks. Absolutely. And those teams might again sweep us again next year, except for Brooklyn. But they might sweep us again because they're getting bigger and we're not. Like, I feel like, are we not understanding our position? And again, if, like, you know what, guys, we're rebuilding, cool. But people think that we're going to provide a top 6 product next year. And unfortunately, guys, with Detroit and Atlanta and Orlando, those 3 teams, ain't going to happen. Miami, that's 4. Exactly. Knicks, that's 5. Those 5. And Chicago is still in a better spot than we are. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm just listing, guys. Washington looks interesting, right? You
didn't even bring up Atlanta as well in that top 6.
Like there are teams that are getting better. Like, I'm like, oh my god, they took a step forward, and we're still in the same spot, and we've been in the same spot since 2020, and it's so unfortunate because now we're like, in 2020 we were still a bigger team. Now we're a small team of 6, 7 guys. Only one guy that's taller, which is Pirtle, and he can't defend some of the centers in our league right now. He can't defend the Chets. He can't defend those guys. So we're playing OKC. Who's in front of Chet? Scotty Barnes? Okay. BI can defend for his life. CMB, like, again, like, I don't think CMB is a bad player, but I feel like if you watch when he played, like, tall teams, good teams like Florida and Tennessee, he was not even a factor.
Well, the tough thing too with CMB is there's a lot of things to like with him, but he played out of position out of necessity because they didn't have anyone else to play center.
Exactly.
He shouldn't be playing center, so he just spent a whole year playing center. He's going to have to kind of spend a whole year redeveloping some of his stuff to become a power forward. Now, I think he's a hard worker. I think he'll work out fine. But on this specific team with this specific iteration, it's going to be interesting to see. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'll give people a little bit of hope, but it's you do have a coach that is currently developing, and also a lot of players that at this point you need to know what they are and how they fit. And since we don't know how they fit, it's like. Yeah.
But that's the problem that we have, right? Is that CMB, I think, is a great prospect. But I think for the Toronto, he's going to fit a need right now, because at the end of the day, and he will fit a need if we trade away someone, right? Like if we moved a couple of players off of our team and we got CMB, that makes sense, right? But then now it's like we have BI, if he's healthy, Scotty Barnes, and CMB all 6'7", 6'6". So we're going to have a 6'6". Like, we play teams like, I don't know, like, to be honest, Philadelphia's gonna mollywop us next year, like absolute mollywop Toronto. Like it's gonna be an embarrassment because they actually have size and have two-way players. Now they have VJ. It's going to be absolute like nightmare for us, right? So I just think certain matchups in our division that we play 4 times,
Yeah.
I'm like, Lord, like this is going to be a tough watch. However, I know people are boycotting the team because Masai is not there anymore, and I guess that's
Interesting.
cool, right? Because to me, I love Masai, but I was a fan of Toronto before Masai. Masai is not Toronto Raptors. So if you're boycotting the Raptors because of Masai, check your fandom in the mirror because you should not be a fan of Masai and not the Raptors. Okay, he's only a man, right? But I do think with this team, I hope CMB can be a great defender and be like a guy we can put. Oh, you know what, CMB, go after that guy. Like if you can be our top defender, that'd be great.
Yeah.
But offensively, I don't expect him to do anything. Like if he gives us a couple of points, cool. But if he can be our lockdown on ball defender for a 4 and a 3, which this league has very great wing players, then that's serviceable. But is he a starter in the NBA? No. He's a role player that'll be coming off the bench on really good basketball teams, unless he can develop a Jimmy Butler where he has a stick baseline or has 2 or 3 spots in the mid range where he dominates, right? But that comes through time, right? That comes with time. So I'm excited to see CMB play. My concern is that having a 6'7" backup center is absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy.
I'm hoping that they play him not as center, but we will find out. I think the first litmus test will be summer league, just so you see where they kind of fit him around. My biggest fear for him is just I don't want to see lineups of him, Scotty, and Mobo together where it's like what's going on.
Oh, that's gonna be awful.
Yeah, but what I will say, just to kind of shift to really quickly to free agency, I'm going to only ask 2 questions. I'm going to skip some of the questions. 2 questions. Where does Kuminga end up, and where does Chris Boucher end up?
Beyond, you go first. I don't want to touch this question, but
oh boy, Kuminga. Let me start with Boucher. It's probably gonna be easier.
Yeah.
I think Boucher. I can see Boucher somewhere like a Golden State when I said that. Honestly, I can see him if Denver's got a little change left back. I can see him in Denver as well too, especially after the JV stuff. Like I can see
the JV stuff is really the key.
Yeah, so like those 2 spots, I think it would be ideal for him if he wants to kind of get back to like competitive basketball and having some chance of a championship again. Kuminga, it's about opportunity, I think, for Kuminga. I know what he would like. I'm just looking around the team. I think right now the natural place or the most likeliest place right now that is you're looking for a slot to be quote franchise player of the team. If that's what he's looking for, the best bet right now might be Chicago.
Yeah.
So why Chicago? Beyond, I'm curious about that.
I think if you're looking for an opportunity, you're a young fella like him, you're looking for an opportunity to be quote. Like, let's face it, you're 21 years old. You want to make a mark and you want to be one of the guys. There's not too many teams right now out there that don't have a guy that's already filling a slot. You're not going to Orlando. You're not going to Detroit. You're not like even Atlanta to some extent. I know people talk to Atlanta, but even them are kind of like.
Because they have Jalen Johnson and Ricochet. It's like I don't know where he's playing.
Yeah, you're right. But you got a sign and trade perhaps one of those guys. Like Atlanta might be a little bit on a possibility, but if you look at Chicago, they still are kind of like in this kind of amorphous stereo. Matas looks like he could be something, but he's not there yet. Kobe White, I'm a Tar Heel fan. He's nice, but he's not a guy. So there's a vacancy to be a guy there if you want to be a guy in Chicago. And it's a big market too. So that's the other thing too. If I'm Kuminga, I was like, yeah, I'll be in Chicago. I'll be probably getting more chances to be on national TV, and I have a chance to be the dude in Chicago.
So no, that makes sense. I think for me, if I'm Kuminga, the team that I'd want to go to, just because I think, like, not only I think they have potential, but I think he'll fit in that. I think he will fit with a role because I don't think Kuminga is going to be a franchise player. He needs to just stop. That's not what you are. But I would like him to go to a young upcoming team. So you may not agree with me, but Kuminga on Detroit, I would love that. I would love that. I think him playing with a team like that with grittiness, now that a couple guys are coming back, I would like him on a team like Detroit. I would like him on a team like the Clippers. I would like him on a team like Memphis. Just teams that I think are needing a two-way player off the bench. Because I do think Kuminga of what happened in Warriors, I don't think he'll get a starting position right away. But I think he'll be a great guy off the bench to run with a second unit because he can score, he can create. But I think on a championship team, Kuminga can be your starter. I think he needs to be a bench guy, in my opinion. Right?
Okay, I'm going to challenge this a little bit from the Kuminga standpoint. I'm looking at, I'm 21 years old at this point, right? I'm 21 years old, maybe 22 at best. Every time the coach tells me in this case here, I can't be playing starter. When things get dire, he breaks glass in case of emergency. He brings me out and I'm delivering. At some point, I got to look at myself and look at him as like, really? I can't outplay these guys? You're telling me I can't start on this team? And I'm looking
So question on the Warriors, I agree, but like, do you think on a championship contention team that he should? So first of all, what role is Kuminga to you? Like, is he a 2 guard or is he a 3 or 4? Like, what do you have him in terms of what's his true position?
I think he's a 3 or 4.
I forget if I think he's a 2 or 3, but I think he's more a 3. Right? I think
so the 3 in this league, right? Do you think he like? I'm looking at all the 3s, right? So on Detroit, or like 3s in the league are like Osser or Thompson or like Kevin Durant, like LeBron. The 3s are typically like, to your point, bigger, like can do multiple things, and you gotta defend your position, right? So, do you think like he should start? Again, I get it, right? When they need help, they go to him, and I agree. But he did start for a year ago, and we saw what that looked like because he was starting for them before, and this year he did not. So, like, do you think like he has what it takes to be a starter in that 3 spot, right?
I think so. If you're talking take Chicago, I have my choice between Josh Giddey or Kuminga from the same draft, and who I prefer to start is 3.
Yeah,
and twice on Sunday.
So Chicago starting 3 is Ayo.
Right.
Yeah. I think I would take Kuminga over that.
That's what I'm saying.
So exactly. So Kuminga over that, I agree. I'll take him over that if they're starting Ayo for sure.
If Kuminga gets 35, 36 minutes a game, he's probably a 20 point per game scorer.
Yes, I agree.
And he's got physical size at 6'7" or something like that. He's not like a skinny 6'7". He's a thick 6'7". He's athletic as heck. I don't see why in this case, in this league, he should be a starter at this point in this game. Why I see guys out here starting that no business starting on some of these teams.
Well, that's true. But the question is, does he want to go to a team that's not? Because Chicago is years away from being something. But like, for example, on Memphis, he can be the backup to Jalen Wells, and I think that's a good look.
The challenge with Memphis is that Memphis just made moves to do cost cutting, and he wants to get paid. And then from the Detroit
but the
standpoint,
question is, but the question is, they did cost cutting, but can they afford him now? Pay him.
That's a good question. It'd have to probably be a sign-in trade. Which then it's like, who are they giving up, right? And then
they gave up Desmond Bane. I mean, Bane was a big like a lot of money, so they have money now on deck, right?
But they took back 2 bad deals that are just shorter term in KCP and
I mean KCP. Come on, what is that?
And Cole Anthony, right? So it's like in a year they'll have money, they'll have big money in a year. But the other thing too is that some of that money is going already to the guy, former defensive player of the year, where he's just got a supermax. Right. So
I know for sure, but to be on his point, right? He has to go to a team that only has money, but they're competing. I don't think he wants to go to a team that's like going to be lottery next couple of years. So my premise was, like, I want them to go to an up and coming team. They're not there yet, but they're like almost there. And Kuminga could be the missing piece to help them. Like if they're playing a team like the Knicks, having Kuminga there who can create shot, defend. That would be they could probably win those closer games, right? Because Cade had no one to go to.
So the thing with Detroit, and then I'll let B on because he is the Detroit fan, but they have a lot of guys that already overlap with his position, that they've spent more years in that system. So, you have Ron Holland, you have the Thompson twin, you have, it's like you start going down the line. There's like 2-3 guys that already, depending on like what position you see, if you see him as a 3-4, you're also adding in Tobias Harris. So it's
Tobias plays their 4, right? That's what I'm saying.
Exactly,
like, I think but I think if you're looking for a bucket, to be on Point, in those games against the Knicks, when they needed a bucket, those guys were not even doing anything. I think Kuminga is more reliable, especially in Osser when it comes to making a shot. Because Osser wasn't helping. Like, they were giving, they're up by 20, and they couldn't maintain the leads.
Yeah, but you got to remember, my free agent's coming back this year.
Yeah.
Ivy. That's the guy's going to get me the bucket. So,
we'll come back to who, Jaden?
Yeah.
Jaden Ivey, yeah.
So I already have a 20+ per game score.
That's true. I forgot that he was on that team and he wasn't playing.
The guy that's missing, to your point.
They need someone like a Kuminga. That's what I meant. Like they need something that can like score when Cade was being doubled, and Tobias. He's older, right? You can't rely on Tobias in those moments, right?
But
so
to Kenyon's point, the two other guys he mentioned, those are to your point, like those are the roles I expect them to grow into. Be it if they're 6 men or wherever they be, where they will be able to maintain the offense when Cade sits on the bench or Ivy's on the bench. So that's the role I expect them to be in. And plus, you got to look at it from the player's perspective. Kuminga's been sitting on a bench in this case, and I find it funny you mentioned about titles in this case here. Who was on the team in this case that gave him the extra juice before they won the 2022 title? I believe it was Wiggins and another guy in this case.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like Aaron Wiggins was starting, and Jordan Poole was the second leading scorer in that team, right?
But they also played. They played who got rotational minutes in those series. Right. So at some point you gotta look at it. It's like, you know what? I know what I've done in this case of the league. I know I contributed to win that championship. I don't need to be playing by pods. I'm not playing behind pods. I'm sorry. I'm not.
And I totally get that. I just don't know if a franchise today is going to look at Kuminga and say he's going to help us sell tickets. I don't think he has that type of sway beyond.
I agree with that. But Chicago, about that. You got the tickets sold. Chicago,
but that's what I'm saying. Like certain teams that have stars, you can plug in and play him. But I don't think he's going to be like, oh yeah, he's coming in and he's like a name, right? He's going to be a guy that's going to have to earn it a little bit wherever he goes, right? And to be honest, I don't think coaches are gonna. Unfortunately, for him, I think Kuminga, in the playoffs, I felt like he showed enough to go, crap. If he gets minutes, he can contribute. Because again, to your point, the Warriors only went to him when they had no one left, and Steph was hurt, and it was kind of like, yo. And every Warrior found the guys. Why didn't we play him earlier? What the hell is Steve Kerr's problem, right? So I do think the way he played, it proves like, shoot, this guy can be a pivotal piece, right? He can be. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like wherever he goes, will he be an automatic starter? No, he's going to have to earn that in camp. But I do think, like, wherever he goes, he cannot be your number 1 or number 2 scorer. I think he was someone that's going to be contributing and earn it. He's got to take it from, because every team has someone, right? Washington now has somebody, but I feel like every team has someone that they go to, right? So wherever he goes to, he's going to have to contribute to whatever they're running there. You know what I'm saying? And all the teams, like all these teams that I have right now in front of me, I'm trying to think. The only team that doesn't really have anything going on. No, Utah got something going on now. Portland, maybe.
Portland? Washington, before they made the Cam Whitmore trade, made a lot of sense. Now that they got Cam Whitmore, it
Cam is
just
cheaper
doesn't.
Than getting Kuminga.
Exactly. So
he's way cheaper. But again, like to your point, like I'm curious. Like my prediction is that he'll be coming off the bench initially and probably will start later. But if you're saying he's going to start right away, I'm not going to push back either because he, like on Brooklyn, he should be starting. You know what I'm saying? Like, but other teams, I just feel like it depends because that 2-3 is like either 2 or 3 in this league. You have to be really good because the guys you're playing against are going to be freaking good in this league, right? So
he had money, which I don't think they do. They would another team like to see him going to.
Sorry, which team?
Milwaukee. If they
had money,
but there's no.
I thought Milwaukee too, but I was like,
they have interest payments at this point.
The money ain't there.
They still had money left back for him, but they put it all in the Miles Turner. So
exactly.
Teams that can use his skill set that could start.
Agreed. Like on Milwaukee, he would start right away on Milwaukee for sure.
Yeah, they'll sort something out. I think it's going to probably be a sign and trade. Before we go to the next point, I just want to say it's probably a good idea to make this a 2-parter. So I think for right now, people stay tuned for the second part, and we will be right back. Really, it's probably going to be a separate episode. So stay tuned, stay locked in, stay subscribed, and we'll just keep it rolling.